tax rate. do have 9 o'clock, and I'd like to call the April 15th meeting of the Person Board of County Commissioners to order this time. Recognize that we do have a quorum, but Madam Clerk, please record the absence of Commissioner per year, if you don't mind. And I'll lead us in an invocation, after which Commissioner Sims will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you so desire, please pray with me. Merciful and Almighty God, we thank you for this beautiful day, this opportunity, with freedom of this land that we have to meet and conduct the business of the county. We thank you for those that are protecting this freedom that we have, both here as well as worldwide. Bless each and every one. Be with our law enforcement and emergency management people, all that make our lives safer as we go about our daily lives. Bless this meeting for the benefit of our county. And in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Those want to pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is discussion, adjustment, or approval of the agenda as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion. Any discussion, changes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. First, or up next on our agenda is a informal comment period set aside for citizens to approach the board and share some concerns or thoughts, and we'll do that at this time. We do have 10 minutes set aside, and how many speakers do we have?
We have 10 individuals.
Oh, good. I don't know. 2 minutes,
2
I
minutes.
guess.
I'll
Yeah,
go 2.
we'll do 2. That's double what we normally would do anyway. Who is our first speaker,
All right, the
please?
first speaker is Joseph DiBiase. And IT, can you please set the timer for 2 minutes?
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you for taking the time to allow me to speak here this morning. My name is Joseph DiBiase. I live at 53 Dorothy Brooks Lane, adjacent to the Woodsdale property owned by the PCBC. The last time I spoke to you concerning the Woodsdale project, my views might have been considered speculative. This morning, I'd like to address the facts. Fact 1, the PCBC, directed by Philip Allen, owns 31 acres in Woodsdale that shall be conveyed as a rail layover site. Fact 2, Mason Day, a contractor from Virginia, conducted due diligence on this parcel for the PCBC. Fact 3, during the due diligence process, Mr. Day constructed a laydown pad approximately 1.5 acres in size, which had nothing to do with due diligence. That was confirmed by a meeting that I had both with the county manager and Brandy Lynch, the director of the EDC. Fact 4, the construction of this pad took place without proper zoning from our county or any permitting from either the county or the state. Fact 5, construction of this pad was conducted through land not belonging to either Mr. Day or the PCBC. The entrance used was a dangerous intersection of the railroad crossing and Shiloh Church Road. Fact 6, both the state DOT and State Department of Environmental Quality put a stop to all operations on the Woodsdale project. Lastly, and most important, Mr. Day's actions were under the direct supervision of both Philip Allen and private business consultant Ms. Sherry Wilborn, a prior EDC director, both of whom knew better. At this point, we should use a little common sense. Why would Mr. Day, a successful businessman, build a railroad laydown pad consisting tens of thousands of dollars prior to the conveyance of this land to him, prior to zoning applications, prior to permits? Obviously, to conduct a trucking operation to begin with. Trucking operation through railroad property, none of which belongs to Mr. Day, not on land Mr. Day pays taxes or even insures, the costs of which lay on the PCBC and ultimately on the county taxpayers through monies paid directly from our county. So this morning, I'd like to give the board members of our county a gift. There are members sitting before us. They're seeking re-election. Show us, the voting taxpayers, that rules apply to everyone, regardless of last names or out-of-state businessmen who believe that they can come down to North Carolina and exploit Person County. Allow the zoning board to do their job in a fair and even manner, not a version pre-built by a profit-driven businessman. The containment mat should not be allowed to remain. It is 30 feet from the adjacent properties and livestock. Remove the mat, allow zoning to approve a better location. There are 51 acres to find a safe place. Thank you, good luck. We are watching and counting on you to represent us correctly. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ladies.
Next speaker, Tom Gerhart.
My name is Tom Gerhart. I'm a member of Emergency Chaplains, and I'm also the pastor of Somerset Baptist Church. I've been increasingly alarmed when we look at the newspaper about the number of drug overdoses, drug arrests, selling of drugs, and et cetera. So I'm here to speak this morning about the Mobile Integrated Healthcare Post-Overdose Response Team. It's easy to find statistics through the NC State Center for Health and NC Disease event tracking and other things for us to realize that Person County, compared with Durham, Orange, Caswell, Granville, has the highest number of overdose emergency department visits of all those counties. Person County's changing, and not all the changes are for the better. In terms of overdose deaths per capita, we are tied with Durham County. And that's an alarming statistic. 12% of all people that have an overdose die within the first year of that overdose. So I can tell data, numbers, statistics, and they tell you a story. But as a minister, I deal with people and it's a real story and it's a real cost with the opioid crisis. In Person County every day, we see families that are just struggling with this epidemic because there is someone in their family that is addicted. There's a stigma or a perception that many people have those that they think they struggle with it. But I can tell you, as a minister, it affects all walks of life. It doesn't matter your economic status, your social status, how nice a house you have or don't have. It affects everybody. On March the 12th, there was a meeting at Long Memorial Methodist Church, which all clergy all over Person County attended, along with different social services. And we don't have the tools in place in this county to effectively address this need. I know I'm out of time, so help out your county, help out churches, clergy, by please using the opioid settlement funds to fund the Mobile Integrated Healthcare Post-Overdose Response Team and also the Early Intervention Program through Person County Schools. It will make a difference. It's a tool we don't have. The problem's getting to the point that we need to do everything that we can. As a pastor, I thank you. As a member of Emergency Chaplains and dealing with first responders that are just having compassion burnout over this issue, they'll thank you too. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Eric Kaplan.
Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Morning, sir.
Eric Kaplan, CO at Person Memorial Hospital. Mobile Integrated Healthcare, or MIH, is an expanding field of healthcare focused on providing primary and preventative care to underserved populations. The goals include increasing access to care, improving health and well-being, and reducing avoidable hospital admissions, readmissions, emergency room visits, and costs. Care providers can come from many areas of healthcare, but most MIH services use EMTs and paramedics in expanded roles caring for clients in non-emergency situations in their homes or other locations. This morning you'll hear a presentation on using opioid settlement funding to support the establishment of post-overdose response team here in Person County. The post-overdose response team is a form of mobile integrated healthcare in which it provides life-saving interventions, services, and support to those individuals struggling with addiction by meeting them where they are and the team building trust and connection to assist them on a journey to recovery. A post-overdose response team, or a PORT team, is a program that follows up with a person who has recently overdosed, typically within 24 hours, to provide support, education, and connections to needed resources. If the person is willing and a good candidate, medication-assisted therapy can be started to assist that person as support services are being arranged. Support programs can build relationships with people who use drugs in the community and create connections to offer a variety of wraparound health and social services, even if the connection occurs at a later time. These programs can be a life-saving touch point for people who are often marginalized. This is a proven strategy that works in decreasing loss of life, reducing EMS transports, avoidable emergency room admissions, readmissions, and moving opioid addiction individuals toward a path of recovery. Currently, there are 27 counties in North Carolina, both big and small, that have created post-overdose response teams, and 12 of them are part of the mobile integrated healthcare model. Opioid use is a problem not only impacts individuals, but their families, loved ones, and friends in the entire community. As a hospital administrator, I see the devastating impacts every day. I ask that you support both of these programs. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Katie Moore.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Katie Moore. I'm a resident of Roxborough. On this past Thursday, approximately 100 people showed up at 8 a.m. at a Golden Corral to learn more about the Mariah Energy Center. We were excited about hearing more because for many months we've asked a lot of questions and have not received any answers. We, again, on Thursday did not receive answers to the questions that we've asked, despite members of this board forwarding those questions to Dominion Energy. Frankly, I don't really understand what the issue is or how we have to ask those questions to get them answered. We did learn after the official presentation and discussions with some of Dominion staff that Dominion still does not know where they are getting the 16 million gallons of water that they need to pressure test their tanks. This is either going to come out of the aquifer, potentially damaging well water for residents nearby, or it will come somehow from city water supply. We would love to know where that water is coming from. We also learned from Dominion that after they pressure test with that water, that again, we don't know where it's coming from, they're going to release it into the environment. To me, that seems concerning, and I assume will have impacts on our environment. Another thing that we learned after the meeting and discussions with a member of this board, the member told one of our community members that he did not need to listen to her concerns because he had, quote, listened to the experts. By experts, I'm assuming that that person meant Dominion Energy and Duke Energy. And let me remind y'all that while they might be experts, they have a vested interest. And frankly, I don't understand what the role is of a county commissioner if not to listen to your constituents. I found that comment extremely concerning, but also it made sense because y'all have not been listening to us, even though we've been showing up meeting after meeting. We've been emailing y'all, we've been asking questions, we've been organizing. It's clear that y'all are not listening to us, but you have to. We're the people who vote you in, we're the people who you represent. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Andrea Childers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Andrea Childers, and I've been a resident of Person County for 31 years. I come here to ask the board to reverse their decision, their zoning decision that they made on December 4th, 2023. If you choose not to reverse this decision, then it is imperative that we have an environmental impact study as well as a stormwater runoff study before Dominion is allowed to construct the Mariah Energy Center. Samantha Kropp from Sound Rivers performed a baseline water test on February 2nd of a creek directly across from Dominion Energy site. It flows under Helena Mariah Road onto a neighbor's property and found very low turbidity. On March 28th, a sample was taken from the exact same site after pre-construction of the Mariah Energy site has begun, and it showed a turbidity that was 10 times the state standard. What is Dominion going to do about this? How are they going to fix it? For the safety of all the neighbors, well testing needs to begin now and continue throughout the life of this facility. Dominion does not foresee any accidents with their facility. They have assured you that they are taking all the necessary processes to keep safe all Personians. We must remember that humans are fallible. We make mistakes. To bring hazardous material into our county is just an accident waiting to happen. This is why the original UDO did not include hazardous materials. Ask the leaders of East Palestine, Ohio, if they ever thought in a million years that a train derailment would cause the pollution of their town in a 20-mile radius, and I assure you they will say no. Ask the leaders of Baltimore if they ever had imagined the Francis Scott Key Bridge would collapse, but it did. Accidents happen. It's only a matter of time. I also have for each of you a report from Sound Rivers where I got the information about the turbidity from. I'll give it to Michelle, and she can pass that out to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Arthur Payne.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Arthur Payne. I come representing the Morse Clinics, which some may have heard is an opiate treatment program. And I'm coming here to support the post-overdose response team presentation and proclamation for the opiate settlement dollars. As you are aware, this is a problem in many counties in North Carolina and across our nation. I speak to you here today to talk about how this intervention may be successful in changing the course for many families and communities, as you'll hear from other folks today. In awareness that there is some data to be had that overdose deaths in Person County have increased over the last 10 years. Up until 2016, the average opioid-involved death was only 2 patients or 2 people. From 2016 to 2021, which is the most current record, 10 people per year have passed away from opioid-specific overdose death. So we are here to support post-overdose response teams as a evidence-based practice to be able to impact patients, families, and communities. The EMS and fire and police have all been able to use Narcan to reverse the overdose incidents. But Narcan is not treatment. Narcan is an intervention at best and usually wears off between 45 minutes and an hour, where that person, if they choose not to go to the hospital, will often return to use because they feel terrible. So a post-overdose response team would allow for that continued intervention to occur and follow up within 24 to 48 hours to help that person start to make the changes that are necessary so that we don't have to keep coming back. And from a financial standpoint, when I can free up the EMS and fire at a significant cost per incident with one person coming out to offer help, it's a good spend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is C.L. Oakley.
Good morning. My name is C.L. Oakley, and I live at 4575 Burlington Road in Roxborough, and I am a member of the Rotary Club of Roxborough. Now, this year is the 100th anniversary of the Rotary Club of Roxborough. This was started in 1923. This was chartered. Now, let's fast forward to about 30 years ago. The idea came to the members that they wanted to try to do something to help start some kind of big project, okay? So to do that, we needed money. So what did we do? We contacted some other clubs that were having success in their fundraising, and one of them was a paper drive. Now, you think selling toilet paper or having people purchase toilet paper and paper towels is kind of one way or whatever, but I think it's universal. So that's what we did. And for the next 20 years after we started, we did not use any of the profits to run the club, and we still don't. But we split the profits 50% to go into a foundation to save. The other 50% was given back to the county to different charities, one way or another. Now, I am here to ask you to seriously consider the proposal that Dr. Buchanan will put to you this morning. This is what it's all about. Now, through the profits of this paper drive, we have been able to raise a sizable chunk of money. And it's been sitting there. And we hope that this will be good for the county and all the people in the county. Now, it's a worthwhile project and help us to celebrate our birthday. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next speaker is John Seat.
Sorry about that.
Hello, I'm John Seep. I live at 277 Barefoot Landing Lane, Samora. In your marriages, when is it healthy to keep secrets from each other? Hiding secrets can end up ruining a relationship over time. Withholding or hiding information is lying by omission, particularly when it comes to money matters, which brings us here on tax day, no less. Your relationship with the county taxpayers is stressed and needs therapy. Item number 4. On today's agenda has the county manager putting forth justification for $10,000 county dollars to be provided to PCBIC so their lawyer can fight the county's EDC lawyer due to Philip Allen and Sherry Wilburn's greed and incompetence in the Woodsdale project, also called Project Log. Now we are giving the county funds to a 501c3 nonprofit for the defense of these two crooks who are still in the position to do whatever misdeeds were done again. Yes, we're talking about the best kept secret in Person County, Project Log, Woodsdale. Item number 5 is Philip Allen asking for $62,800 for PCBIC. Additional funding needed for the nonprofit to exist for fiscal year 24-25. Mr. Allen still hasn't come clean on what has gotten us to this point. The project shows no permits pulled, a conveyance which is incomplete, and the county holding the bag for Mason Day's, Philip Allen's, and Sherry Wilburn's mess. This is not the time to submit budgetary items. So nobody here should be making a motion to vote on this today. Why would we give one more cent to this organization? Mr. Allen has refused any information to the public as to what has happened, why it happened, and what is being done to ensure it never happens again. Those responsible for this mismanaged project have negatively impacted the public and county. Mr. Allen should be removed to ensure against reoccurrence. This is what happens in business and elsewhere. The cover-ups need to stop. I'm not here to create controversy. These players have done that already. Are you going to build back trust in your community, showcase some reforms, foster a local government with professionalism while educating and empowering your citizens? Please stop avoiding the truth and impending consequences due to pride and self-importance. Avoidance is not the proper move. What I have said here this morning, you may forget before I walk out that door, but let me tell each of you, what you do about this matter, all us taxpayers will remember. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Jay Poindexter.
Good morning. How
All
y'all doing?
right.
I'm Jay Poindexter, 9195 McGee's Mill Road, Samora, North Carolina. I'm on the EDC board, and I'm on the financial thing of the BCPIC. And just want to say, I just heard y'all sit there and blame Sherry and Philip. Don't just blame two, it's all of us that voted. And we voted for it. I stand my ground. But I think y'all need to support PCBCI, because I've been in this EDC for now for about 2 years, and you got to have this arm of the EDC to make this thing roll. If it doesn't work right. So I'm just asking for y'all's support on that. I'm not here to beat y'all up on it. That's just what it needs to be. And thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
All right, and the last speaker we have is Donald Long.
To the Board of Commissioners, the County Manager, Madam Clerk to the Board, and the fair citizens of Person County, good morning.
Morning.
I I'm Donald Long, a resident of Person County and a member of the Person County Economic Development Commission. First, I would like to thank each of you for your commitment to the betterment of Person County and your continued support of economic development in Person County. I realize it is difficult to read the name calling and finger pointing on social media for supporting confidential economic development projects. Just last week, the governor of North Carolina, along with the Prime Minister of Japan, had a joint news conference announcing a large economic development project in Wake County, which was another confidential project. Our neighbors and citizens have legitimate concerns, but we, as public servants, are bound by confidentiality agreements with businesses which wish to locate here, operate here, pay taxes here, and provide jobs and services here to continue to attract and retain existing businesses here in Person County. There was a recent request made by the commissioners for an update on PCBIC financials. It was a fair and prudent request. A report was given that covered the last year of expenditures. The PCBIC has expended thousands of dollars in support of Person County's economic development initiatives over the last 30-plus years, including the Person County mega site and other projects, as a partner to and extension of the county's Economic Development Department and Commission. There was never a hesitation on the part of the Person County Commissioners to support these efforts, as the PCBIC has always been an instrument to support economic development in Person County for 30 years. PCBIC has operated with an understanding that there was mutual support from the county, given that the Board of Commissioners appoints its directors, which include the chairman of the Board of Commissioners and the county manager. PCBIC quarterly financial reports have been given in the past and continue to be presented to the full board in public open meetings to account for the work of the PCBIC board and the expenditures made on behalf of the county's business recruitment mission and support efforts. Rather than requesting a full reimbursement of the amount of funding the PCBIC has spent to support county initiatives over the last 30 years, we are requesting an amount to cover anticipated expenses for the coming support over the next fiscal year. I humbly ask for your continued support for future and current businesses in Person County and Person County's business and industrial center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
Item number 1 on our agenda is discussion, adjustment, approval of the consent agenda as presented. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. New business, item number 2, donation and request for naming rights of the County Farm Park. Mr. John Hill.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, John.
Thanks for having us today. I'm coming before you this morning to introduce Dr. Barbara Buchanan with the Rotary Club with an amazing opportunity for Person County.
Thank you. Thank you. I am Dr. Barbara Buchanan. I'm Vice President of Instruction at Piedmont Community College, but I'm here before you today. I appreciate your allowing us to present this request. I'm here on behalf of the Rotary Club. As you can see, I have a number of other members of the Rotary Club who have joined me to bring our thoughts to you today, and hopefully with a good resolution. So with your permission, I would like to read a letter to you from the club. In 2024, we proudly commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Rotary Club of Roxborough. This is a significant milestone for our club and for the county. We were founded a century ago under the sponsorship of the Oxford Rotary Club, And since then, our local civic organization has consisted of business and professional men and women dedicated to serving this community. Our mission and motto is service above self, and we do remain steadfast in our commitment to making positive impacts and upholding the values that we hold dear in Rotary. For the past 100 years, our Rotarians have served the community by giving back in the form of service projects for the betterment of our community and the citizens. Examples of some of our projects include the Dictionary Project, provides third grade students with their own personalized dictionary. We've sponsored and helped to build several picnic shelters located in several of the parks in the county. We've established scholarships at both the high schools and at the college. And of course, our World War II veterans trip to Washington, D.C. included a caravan of 7 buses of veterans to assist the memorial of their honor. These projects are all funded by monies raised by the Rotary Club and its members, our best fundraiser to date being the paper drive. And you heard CL talk about the paper drive. I think it's something in the tune of about $50,000 or $55,000 a year that we donate back to the community for various local projects. In recognition of the Rotary Club's centennial year, our club would like to establish a legacy project, and this is the money that CL referred to earlier. So now the Rotary Club of Roxborough is pleased to announce a donation of $125,000 towards the future park in the Mount Tirzah area, currently being known as the Farm Park. Our club aligns with the visions of you as county commissioners in the community for this park to become one of North Carolina's most visited parks for ecological studies, for hiking, for biking. These funds can be used for signage, sciences place, trail signs, or any other necessary amenities. We don't hold any weight to try to tell you what to do with it. But as part of our contribution, we do respectfully request naming rights for the park as the Rotary Club of Roxbury Centennial Park. And we would appreciate your consideration in this. I really would love for John to come back up because he can answer any real questions about the park. Other than I will say, when John is visited with our club, it is our understanding that by giving this donation, there's a very good chance that he'll be able to double the amount by going to the state. So we think $250,000 could make a lot of difference. So thank you for your time, John.
Thank you.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and I do want to thank the Rotary for everything they do for the community. As you know, throughout our park system, we do have a number of amenities already in the Person County Park System that Rotary has contributed to. And I think this is a great opportunity. It's an opportunity to take this funding here and match it with some state and possibly some federal grants and double the money. It's a great opportunity. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Chairman Paul. Yes, sir.
One question. Initially, when we started this project, and we were gonna name the roadway, is it Sam's Way or something like that?
Yeah, so the roadway into the park is named Stan's Way.
And we're gonna leave that alone?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm good to go. That's all I need.
Mr. Chair, I had a couple of comments. One is, I'm not a member of the Rotary Club, and I thank you for everything you do.
We're looking for members.
Maybe later, I have been asked. And I love your organization, love the club, love what you stand for. I have bought a lot of toilet paper and a lot of paper towels from you. It's a great project, it's a great fundraising project. And so I think I'm very happy that you have decided to want to invest in this project more, and I have no problem with the Rotary Club of Roxborough Centennial Park, that being the name. And I thank you again. And I want to thank all the citizens that support this. John, we have had some couple of outings out there to work on that trail. And I don't think it's maybe 2 or 3 that you've had, but it's going to be a good park. And I appreciate all the citizens that have gone out there and helped to help clean up and clear the pathways. So thank you very much.
Could I just say, in listening to John too talk about the park, We do think this is going to be a big draw, regional draw, because what is it, 26 miles?
Yeah, it's we're going to be in a range of 30 miles of trail, a mile and a half of scenic overlooks over, over the Flat River, so on and so forth. And the first date that we put out for a volunteer date, it got 33,000 hits in like the first 2 hours of putting a Facebook post. So I mean, it's going to be a huge regional draw. And as a matter of fact, the state's very excited about the project as well.
So, thank you.
Anybody else? Comments, questions? I'll just ditto what Commissioner Sims has said here. I guess maybe nearly a year ago, David Barker asked me about the possibility of going forward with this project, which would be a renaming. And so this board fully supported that request and went through the steps needed and required to make this possible. So here we are today with that coming to fruition. I commend the Rotary for what they do and what you do for our community. And I too buy the universal toilet paper and tissues. So.
We worry a lot of y'all about that.
So, but anyway, we compliment you. You've been a great service to the citizens of Person County, and so I think by this request and approval thereof, it will be truly a legacy project that will go on for, we'll say, another 100 years. So,
That's what we hope for.
all right.
That is what we hope for.
Any other comments? Anybody? Hearing none, do we have a motion to grant the naming rights for the county farm park? I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'm actually, I think, stealing a comment from our manager, but you can go.
Just, per the policy, we would bring a resolution back to your next meeting, which we would put on the consent agenda if you do indicate your desire to name the park at this meeting. So that would be the formal approval at the next meeting. So if you could just provide direction that that's what you'd like to do, we'll get that resolution together.
Well, then that's procedure and policy. We'll proceed with that as stated.
Thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate you all. So
Thank you.
move
Go.
forward.
All good, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda is authorization to spend opioid settlement funds. Ms. Janet Clayton, Health Director.
Good morning. As you're aware, Person County has received a share of settlement funds derived from the national lawsuits brought by state and local governments against the opioid industry. As part of the settlement, North Carolina counties and municipalities have agreed to receive funds and disperse them in accordance with the North Carolina MOA. The MOA provides a list of strategies which include programs and services that are eligible as spending items outlined in Exhibits A and B of the MOA. In October of 2022, this board established the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee, which consists of 13 positions representing various stakeholder groups. Members began being appointed in early of 2023. The members were tasked to review the needs in Person County and provide spending recommendations in line with the spending options provided in the MOA. The committee engaged the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, who provided educational and technical assistance to the committee. We were fortunate to have and still have the assistance of Jamie Andrews, who's with us today from the association. Jamie has assisted us with our strategic planning as well as extensive research. The committee is recommending funding for 2 strategies, and the funding would actually cover 2 years, so 2 fiscal years of funding. The first is the post-overdose response team, which will enable 2 paramedics to respond to the non-fatal drug overdose incidents and connect survivors of overdoses to recovery support, addiction treatment, primary health care, or other services or supports they need to improve their health and well-being. We recommend funding of $407,517 over 2 years for this program. It's based on the projected needs by EMS. The total project cost for the post-overdose response team is $535,000. We are also recommending that the county use the community mental health funds that are managed by VIA to offset the remainder of the cost. The second project is early intervention through Person County Schools. The staff there will identify and provide services for children and adolescents who currently deal with or demonstrate risk signs for problematic substance use or mental health conditions. Services can include youth mental health first aid, peer-based programs, or similar approaches. Funds can be used to support training targeted for schools, members, staff, parents, family members, caregivers, pastors, peers, health and human professionals. We recommend funding $300,000 over 2 years for this program that would be through Person County Schools. In the interest of good stewardship, the committee has agreed to reserve at least 1/4 of the settlement funds that would have been received by the end of fiscal year 2024. The total for both strategies is $707,517 for 2 fiscal years, periods beginning July 1, 2024, ending June 30th of 2026. The committee requests the Board of Commissioners to authorize the use of this funding for the opioid settlement spending strategies that were outlined. And by doing this, you would adopt the resolution that was included in your packet titled Resolution by the County of Person to direct the expenditure of opioid settlement funds.
Questions?
I don't have any questions, I have some comments about
Sure.
if this is appropriate time. I am a district director for drug awareness for a group of people in this county, Person County, Rocky Mount, Sanford, Southern Pines. And I've gone around with a drug awareness trailer to promote drug awareness in the different communities, and you see them at parades, you see them in shows, trade shows, and festivals. And so I am in big support of post-overdose response team. And I think we all know that you respond as soon as someone overdoses, or within a couple of days of that. It's a non-fatal drug overdose. You work with them, but they've got to want it. I mean, it's an individual thing. People if they're addicted to drugs, it's hard to get off, and you have to, they have to want it. It helps to have support, but it's up to that individual. And so I'm for that. And the other thing is early intervention. I've gone into schools trying to get drug awareness, kids to do drug awareness posters and drug awareness essays, to get the awareness of the kids. We got to start early. You got to start in the schools and to do the drug prevention. And so I think it's very important. Drugs aren't going to stop at the county line. We talked about Durham. We talked about these other counties. It's not going to stop, and we're just 15 minutes from the county line, maybe, or something like that. And so it's not going to be. It's not just in Durham. Those drugs will come here. And so I want to say the Sheriff's Department. I know they have done their due diligence in trying to stop drug trafficking in this county, and they have made drug busts, and they will continue because it's not going to stop. So I really appreciate what is that's being presented to us, and I am in support of the recommendations for the $707,517 for the opiate settlement funds to go to these 2 different things here, for post overdose and early intervention. And I thank everyone who works and deals with the overdose, the paramedics. As you said, if we can cut this down, it cuts down the cost to the county, because we're spending a lot of money with our paramedics answering these calls. So, thank you.
This has been one of those projects too, is sort of long going, long coming, or slowly coming, that we've talked about probably over a year now, and the influx of funding that was coming to us with the opioid settlement, and former county attorney Ron Aycock represented us well, even though he was not our attorney then, he still represented Person County. Did a good job there, and in the first 3 years of that settlement, I believe it's 3 years, the bulk of that money would start coming in, which it will run for 18 years. But on the other end, it's kind of small. But at this point, you're all covered with funding to cover this critical need and issue. And being a board member of VIA Health, this is something we talk about frequently, often, and especially for the last year and a half or 2 years, more than some in this room would have realized and known about. So we recognize the problem, appreciate your focus on getting it to the right place, to the right people, and to again help the people of Person County who are addicted to a drug, and something I'm sure you'll continue to use wisely and represent us well. Any other comments, questions?
I'm just very pleased with the work that the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee has done so far, and that we are at the point where we have some recommendations and can move forward with some programming. We've received about $2.6 million to date, and then currently we anticipate receiving close to $4.7 million over the course of that time frame, which is through 2038. So we have more opportunity to continue to tackle these issues in our community, and the committee will continue to evaluate ways for us to put this funding to good use.
Okay, no more questions. It's up to the board's discretion now, but we would need a motion to approve the funding request. $707,517.
Do we need a motion
We need to read
to
that.
approve the request for that or for the resolution?
To approve the
Resolution.
resolution, that will
Right.
formalize the
I make a
approval.
motion that we approve the resolution.
Have a motion on the floor for resolution approval. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 4, Person County Business and Industrial Center, PCBIC, fiscal year 24 funding request, Manager Kathy.
I'm bringing this item back to the board after it was tabled from the April 1st meeting. At that meeting, you did receive a presentation from the Vice President of PCBIC, Scott McKinney. I will note that President Philip Allen is in the audience this morning. He's prepared to present on the next item, but if you have any questions for him about the fiscal year 24 request, he is available to answer those. The request is for $10,000 to support PCBIC's work as a nonprofit within the economic development realm of Person County. The specific request is for $8,000 to go towards legal expenses that they have incurred or anticipate to incur through the end of this fiscal year as a result of their support for economic development projects, as well as $2,000 for grounds maintenance at the PCBIC-owned solar park on US 501. As far as the source of this funding, we do have budgeted funds available in the Economic Catalyst Fund. That fund is typically used as a discretionary fund for current and future economic development projects. The funds typically support site development, infrastructure needs, and incentive agreements with local industries. So there is adequate funding remaining in fiscal year 24 to be able to utilize $10,000 of that fund towards PCBIC's efforts. In addition to that, there is a draft agreement in your agenda packet, which would stipulate the expectations for the use of this funding. So that would be an agreement between the county and the nonprofit entity, and outline that the funding would specifically be used for those two purposes that were requested, and that there is the provision that PCBIC report back to the county on how those funds were expended, to confirm that they were used for the intended purpose.
Commissioner comments?
I ran this through my brain several times over the past 3 weeks, and I come to a conclusion. PCBIC funding of $10,000. Past communications have indicated that a portion of people I've spoken with do not want the approval of funding for $10,000 to Person County Business Industrial Center. In light of your concerns, I'd like to insert the importance from records of the past several months that supports the transaction. The Woodsdale laydown yard for gypsum storage will be needed for production to continue at maximum capacity at our Certainty plant. That will require a rail spur when and if HICO is closed, and will not be able to supply the ash needed. Hollywood has also requested a plant would greatly benefit from having a rail spur extension. The Mega Site Park, several prospective manufacturing facilities have requested a rail spur to reach the site for production support. The potential is very likely that other manufacturing facilities could be development near this area and use the same rail line. So I can say that I fully support it, the first 10.
Mr. Chair, I served on the PCBIC EDC board several years ago before I became county commissioner. And I can remember during those times when we were at the early stages, Stuart Gilbert was actually the EDC director when they kicked off the mega park and that project for a certain company. And I know that EDC and PCBIC both have invested monies into that project. That project is still a live project, it's not dead. And I think that, again, when I was on the PCBIC, and even now, I think they have, they're looking out for the best interest of our county as far as economic development goes. They're working for that. It's not easy. And as far as the projects that were mentioned, I'm not here today to talk about the projects. I'm here to talk about PCBIC and what they have done. And there have been accusations that have been brought up of certain individuals. I'm not here to talk about that, but I am here to support the PCBIC board. And I do support the $10,000 that they're requesting.
Mr. Chairman, I also in support of PCBIC and their involvement on keeping all these projects going. It's important that we fund them, and so we don't lose any other projects.
Anybody else? I do have a few points related to this request before we continue to a vote. I'll just say my comments here this morning should have been said a long time ago and are important. So I wrote those down so I wouldn't forget some. Excuse me. Although these may not be all of my comments, but these are some of my concerns. So I don't want to miss some of those thoughts. Regarding this funding request, in my opinion, the BOC has been backed into a corner of sorts. We certainly do not want to be perceived as hampering a project related to an existing job provider within Person County. While I am not in agreement with how this project was coordinated by PCBIC, a private third party involved, I am in agreement to fund the request through 2024 as requested. Also, I'm one who believes in allowing those in responsible positions to do their job. Another reason I've tried to honor confidentiality clauses in this agreement and not saying some things along the way. However, the conflicting duties of county staff and PCBIC staff creates a management issue of who reports to whom. The EDC director reports to the county manager and is paid by the county. Regarding administrative duties, PCBIC has a secretary and treasurer. However, the EDC staff performs many of the duties of those two positions. There are two attorneys involved, one for PCBIC and the county attorney, both essentially paid by county and at times have opposing views on legal matters. The majority of this funding request, as well as the next agenda item, are based upon legal fees surrounding Project Log. As famously quoted, and we've all heard often, the Apollo 13 crew said, "Houston, we have a problem. This project has been the worst kept secret in the county for my recollection, decades. I have watched the evolution of the log project for nearly a year and can no longer keep my thoughts to myself. Project Log has morphed into an unfortunate political and self-serving project. Proposed as an economic development project that would serve the needs of existing and possibly future industries, has gone astray. This board has a good record of supporting local business and industry, and the log project is no exception. Still, my concerns with the project are numerous. The issue of confidentiality or lack thereof with information on this project continues to be leaked to outside sources and has created unnecessary public concern and confusion. The project was proposed in June of 2023, and permits and zoning requests were late being applied for, resulting in fines, and are still pending. In September of 2023, the PCBIC board gave permission in good faith to the president of that board to sign off on the start of the project as stated in minutes that, quote, written permission will be required before any soil or water could be disturbed, and any necessary permits or approvals to do so would have to be present before said permission be granted, end quote. That decision was ignored without regard to county policy and procedure, and construction began prior to rezoning request or county-issued permits. With all of that being said, I'll close with these thoughts. This board and all boards before have placed community members on committees with a trust that they would work as a team to further our county for the better. Project Log has morphed into an unfortunate political and self-serving project proposed as an economic development project that would serve the needs of existing and possibly future industries, has gone astray. All stakeholders should gather and seek resolutions to the EDC board and the PCBIC board, of which I too am a member. Blind trust was placed into certain members of those committees, a trust that things would be done in the correct manner, at the correct time, and for the correct reasons. This unfortunately did not occur, and for that, as your BOC chairman, as well as the sitting member of the EDC and PCBIC board, I apologize to the citizens. As your elected representative, I should have demanded more checks and balances. My blind trust was a mistake, and I truly want to make it right moving forward. As the appointing board, it is the BOC's responsibility to do the right thing and reevaluate the structure of PCBIC to better serve the people of Person County. And another quote, trust lost is almost never regained. That's the end of my comments there. Any other comments?
Mr. Powell, can I ask a comment?
No, sir. Do we have a motion on the floor for this, this request?
Chairman Powell, I make a motion that we move forward with the $10,000 transaction to get these PCBIC through the hurdle that is currently in, and we can talk about the rest later.
So we have a motion on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Item number 5 is Person County Business and Industrial Center, PCBIC, fiscal year 25. Funding request, Mr. Philip Allen.
Thank you, Chairman Powell.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Philip Allen, and I serve as the chairman of the Economic Development Commission and the president of PCBIC. Before I make our request, I'm going to deliver a positive message. As you all know, the members of EDC, the Economic Development Commission, are appointed by the Board of Commissioners. And the members of the Economic Development Commission are automatically members of PCBIC. So we thank you as the Board of Commissioners for appointing all of the members of our board and giving us the opportunity to serve Person County as volunteers in our roles in both the Economic Development Commission and the Person County Business and Industrial Center. And I speak for myself as well as I believe all the members of our board. This is an honor. I'll say that again. This is an honor and a privilege. And we take our role very seriously. And we thank you for the opportunity to serve Person County. There's a commonality on all of our boards, both the Economic Development Commission, the Person County Business and Industrial Center, and the Board of Commissioners. We all love Person County. We all love Person County. And we all welcome an opportunity to make a contribution to the place we call home. Our board members are volunteers, and their motivation is noble and unselfish. I'll say that again. Our board members are volunteers, and their motivation is noble and unselfish. They freely give of their time and their wisdom in an effort to make Person County a better place for all of us. Our mission on both the Economic Development Commission and the Person County Business and Industrial Center is very simple. We strive to do everything in our power to support existing industry. We strive to do everything in our power to support existing industry and create product and opportunity for new industry, the recruitment of new industry and investment. I am proud of the members of our board. They are members of dignity and integrity, and they work very hard. And I am proud to serve with them. Proud to serve with them. Our boards have been joined at the hip, as Vice President Scott McKinney said in the last meeting, for 30 years. We've worked as partners. The boards meaning the Board of Commissioners and Person County Business and Industrial Center. So again, we thank you. We thank you for this opportunity to serve Person County. And we thank you for this opportunity today to come before you and request funding for the next budget year effective July the 1st, 2024. A budget committee, as mentioned, was appointed to review what we anticipated would be our expenses going forward for the next year, starting July the 1st. That committee is chaired by Donna Long, former Vice President of PCBC. The members include Marilyn Newell, our Secretary of PCBC, Scott McKinney, our Vice President of PCBC, and Jay Poindexter. And so at this time, I think it's in your packet, they've worked very hard and they've come up with the assistance and the direction and the historical perspective of our longtime treasurer, Dan Craig, to come up with what we would like to request funding for. My understanding, Manager Kathy, is that budget number is in the packet. Is that correct, or do I need to review these figures?
It's in the packet.
Okay, okay. So the net request, okay, the revenue for the industrial park fees is $18,000. The expenses, park maintenance, $15,000. Utilities, $1,500. Insurance, $3,000. Legal and project expenses projected at $50,000. Professional, $600. Office, $1,000. Lease, $3,200. Tax, $6,500. For a net request for funding of $62,800. Any questions regarding this? We do have two members here, Scott McKinney and Jay Poindexter, that were involved in the committee, and we'll be glad to answer those questions, and they've indicated they'll assist if there's some questions that the board has. But again, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Philip, the $62,800, that is not like just for the Woodsdale project? Or
That's
is it?
correct.
That's right.
The answer to that question is that is not just for the Woodsdale project.
Right. And so my other question or comments on this is that, you know, I know the legal and project fees those are probably the highest ones, and they will be probably on everything you do as far as trying to get a project in. There's a lot of things that go on with that, and from a legal standpoint and contracts, so I understand that as well. And the park maintenance, I know the park maintenance out there at the industrial park. I'm out there, my company is out there, and we know the different things that come up each year in that park, and the PCBIC
Yes, sir.
Supports that. Economic development is very important to this county. And when we sit here and have projects, I've got one project in particular. We're looking at close to $800,000 to $1 million a year revenue coming into this county for the next 20 years. To me, that's, if I'm not mistaken, 1 cent about if we were to raise the taxes, correct?
It's more than,
More,
yes.
yes. And so, you know, when we're up here for economic development, we're looking at projects. We're not looking to harm farms. We're not looking to hurt individual landowners adjacent to certain properties. But we do have an obligation, as I said, to make sure that we make good decisions and that it's not always about the money, but also at the time we have to consider that. You know, we have a budget. People want things done in this county. And with economic development, some people, we ask for it. We say we want economic development. And then when we get it, then we have people who complain. So, you know, if you get it, people complain. If you don't, people complain. And it is a balancing act. And I'm not, I said I wasn't going to discuss Wisdale, and really the only thing I want to say about Wisdale that has been mentioned already is that, you know, from a county commissioner's standpoint, I just want to make sure that those that are affected with this project is that we answer their questions and that address any issues that safety that come up. And that's for both projects that have been mentioned. And so again, I kind of want to just say that, you know, think about when people say, well, we're not getting anything out of that project, think about close to $1 million a year revenue coming into this county. And so my stance on this your proposal here for 62.8, it's not for any one particular project, it's for your board, and I'm okay with it, so.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments?
I'm also okay with it. It's essential that we keep the wheel turning, and you guys help keep that process going, and I'm on board with everything you said there.
No one else? Then I do have some comments before we proceed with the vote. Thank you, President Allen, for your 24-25 PCBIC funding request and your presentation, so I'll continue with my thoughts. This PCBIC funding request, as presented, as posted, as in the packet and shown, is quite vague and not submitted to the county manager in accordance with how all other county departments submit that budgetary request. Not detailed enough. Those departments are required to provide their request in an itemized fashion and one that explains the need for each line item. And I feel as though the PCBIC request should be held in the same standard. I would like to see that itemized list provided to the county manager as well. As far as funding request is concerned, if approved during the regular scheduled budget meetings, not this meeting, this request should come with some stipulations as clarified with the attorney at our last meeting. First and foremost, the nonprofit PCBIC should not be provided county funds until a careful review of the bylaws has been done and the following items are addressed. The gray area, as you referenced previously, of the EDC board members also being a de facto member of the PCBIC board must be addressed. Therefore, it should be stipulated that no person affiliated with any person, county entity in a professional manner to include community committees are allowed to serve on the nonprofit PCBIC board. The separation of PCBIC from all things county would give the organization its own identity and greater public transparency, making it clearly a standalone organization. This solid delineation will give greater clarity to the citizens and will also ensure that BOC doesn't get wrapped up in self-serving agendas in the future. A PCBIC shall have separate finances from the county in all aspects, including, but not limited to, separate banking, staff, and office locations that provide storage of all items related to the nonprofit, thus clearly separating the two organizations, thereby eliminating confusion between the two and providing greater transparency and accountability. Another stipulation, all property currently titled to BCBIC be immediately transferred to the county. Currently, PCBIC has title to properties, which creates a third-party entity, as well as the extra steps in EDC negotiations and unnecessary back-and-forth correspondence with county and or clients. An example of this would be the donut hole that we've referred to previously, property adjacent to the mega site. County EDC can't fully negotiate with these entities, interested in the mega site without ownership of that property. Should this funding request be approved, and further, it should be stated that this would be a one-time startup investment by the county, and that moving forward, PCBIC board would be solely responsible for self-funding through mechanisms they deem appropriate. Originally, in the early 90s, PCBIC was funded by private and industrial donors to the amount of approximately $240,000 as to get it off the ground and moving. Again, that was private and industrial donors. This is how a nonprofit operates and how it should operate in the future. Any revisions in PCBIC's future should include a self-sustaining financial plan. Take a look at what was just presented by Rotary. They had a plan, they saved their money, they accomplished a goal. I certainly have no issue with PCBIC raising funds, purchasing properties, gifting properties to the county in the name of assisting us with job recruitment and retention. It simply has to be done in a more above-board manner. As I stated earlier, I sincerely apologize to the citizens for what amounts to poor oversight by this board and hope that these steps to move forward in the future will be in the right direction. Therefore, gentlemen, I make a motion that we table this request so that it may be put into the formal budget request system whereby we can ensure these stipulations are addressed and agreed upon, making PCBIC and EDC separate entities into the county and move forward in a positive manner to do what we're charged to do most of all, and that is to ensure revenues into the county by expansion and growth, and that's our primary calling as a board member. And in doing that, going along with Mr. Sims' comments there, as we do that, we increase the tax base, therefore increase revenues to the county to better serve our citizens. So we do have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
I have a couple of questions as you went through a lot of stuff here. One of the things is that, Manager Kathy, we want a breakdown of the expenses. So we're looking at the future. We're looking at from July 24 to June 30th, 2025. So I'll look at park maintenance. You can kind of look at that and you can say, you can look at what we have spent for park maintenance out there at the industrial park. So you got a kind of a good idea on that. Certainly there may be some expenses that come up that you just don't know about between now and the next year. Utilities are pretty consistent. Insurance pretty consistent. But when you get to legal and projects, so how do you break that down to say that we're going to spend this over the next year for projects that we might not even know about? So how do you have that presented to you as far as breaking that down? It's a guess. It's an estimate. You just don't know what the future is going to hold as you go forward with legal and project fees.
Right. So as far as presenting a detailed budget request, I did provide a couple of examples of how our department would present a budget request, as well as another nonprofit that we had received a funding request from for this year. So it is, typically it would involve just doing a brief narrative to support each of these line items so that we have a true understanding of what is made up within each of these amounts in each of these categories. And then just as an extension of that, we will need to enter into a nonprofit funding agreement with PCBC if the nonprofit is funding in the new fiscal year. And it will need to look a little bit different than the one that we've put forth for this current fiscal year. That was one that was in line with how we funded other nonprofits. They've asked for 2 line items basically this fiscal year, so it was pretty straightforward. But since PCBIC is looking at its structure, since it may look different going forward, we do need to look at that agreement and make sure we've covered all those bases for the new fiscal year. And we have to make sure that the funding that the county provides is going towards a public purpose. So that is why it's also very important to have an explanation to go along with these line items as far as how those expenses do relate to a public purpose for the use of county funds.
So your office expenses of $1,000, you break it down, we got this many pencils, this much paper, this much
Right.
computer, is that what you?
Sure, and I don't know what the lease is, so just an explanation for what that is.
I'm just saying, is that you break it down that far?
Well, no, no. It just says, within this $1,000 for office, we would be purchasing office supplies. I'm not sure what is within that $1,000 request for office. So it would just be an explanation of what that means.
Yeah, I don't mind,
Yeah.
if that's what you want. I mean, I'd just like for a little bit more explanation, because as I
Sure.
said, when you start looking forward, if there's set costs, you know what the set costs are. But if there are certain things that you have no idea what will hit you in June or in, between now and June 30th, 2025, I mean, they could put down, legal and projects, but there's no set for the next year what that will be. I mean, there's no way you can identify that if you don't know what the future holds. We could get a call next week about a project.
Right. So it's basically an explanation for what, and like you said, that particular one, legal and project, might be a little bit more vague or, a little more self-explanatory than the line that says lease or office.
Well,
But in essence, it's essentially what you expect of everybody else. No different.
Right, I mean, when our departments submit their requests through our financial system, for the line items, they have to write a description. You know, if it's training, it's what each training session is and how much that's going to cost. It doesn't necessarily mean, 5 boxes of file folders, 5 boxes of paper, 5 boxes of pens under office. And again, I did provide 2 examples to go from as far as what we generally look for a detailed budget request.
well, as long as you give them that, and I'm okay with, if we want to table it. They have, you've given them how you want it presented to you, so I'm okay with that.
And I did, and the expectation going into this was that they would come and present this information to the commissioners so you could indicate whether or not you were interested in working this into the manager's recommended budget for the next fiscal year. So it would have to be approved through that process. So having that detailed budget request would help in supporting wherever it gets placed within the budget, as well as developing that agreement for the new fiscal year. But as I explained to the PCBC Budget Committee, as far as the timeline goes, this was the opportunity for them to come and let the board know of their funding need, so that would give staff adequate time to work it into the budget process, so you could approve it as part of next year's operating budget.
Well, if there are any questions as to my motion and my thinking, this is not dissolution of PCBIC. It's a separation of the 2. Having them clearly separate and with some better understanding of rewriting and revising bylaws that clear up some of the gray areas. And there are gray areas. There are areas there, and I've been on both these boards for years now, and we continually stumble over each other as we go through the process of trying to expand and develop business, and especially new business in industry and growth in the county. This could be done to better serve the citizens of Person County, period. And I see no reason why we would not want to simply do that. And again, a separation of the 2 simply needs to be done going into the future, so that we don't have some of the pitfalls that we've had in this one log project. All those things should be a learning experience, and going forward, I think it behooves this board and serves the citizens better. So again, my motion was that we table this request so that we may put it into the normal budget request system, whereby we can ensure that these stipulations are addressed and agreed upon. So that was my motion. Any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Several observations. Manager Kathy, if you will send that back to the committee, the detail and the examples, and it might not be a bad idea if you'll send the Economic Development Commission how they did there. So that could be a very easy format to follow.
I did,
Okay,
yes, that was
great.
one of the examples
Great.
that I
That's
provided,
great.
so I
That's
can
great.
resend it.
Very good.
Yes.
Chairman Powell, with
Yes, sir.
regard to the contingencies in all of your, all the criteria that you put forth that needed to be changed, as you know, we spent a good portion of the time in our last meeting talking about the gray area, that it was a process, and that we were going to move in that direction. So if you'll send those to us also,
Sure.
if you'll send those to us also, and we'll review those. And we'll come back. I assume that you want us to come back at the next board meeting with regard to the information on exactly how you want our request, our budget request. Is that right?
As far as I'm concerned, just receiving that in writing will be sufficient, but it's up to
Perfect.
the
Perfect.
board if they would like
Okay.
further discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I just, and again, I am okay with tabling the motion that Commissioner Powell has made. I think there's going to be a lot more discussions when we discuss this again at another time. A lot of the things that he has mentioned will be discussed by this board, and then we will move forward and determine what we're going to do going forward, what we will approve and what we won't approve. So I think it's, I'm okay with tabling it, and Philip, go ahead and give us a better breakdown on what you have here
Gotcha.
for your upcoming budget that you're requesting for amount, and we'll proceed from there.
And I also would like to suggest that we will we'll go back through the financial reports, and we will highlight a lot of the things that the PCBIC appropriated money on behalf of projects in Person County. And some of those expenditures were made by PCBIC on behalf of the county. We'll highlight those also. So we thank you again for the opportunity to come and talk to you about our funding needs. And we are, again, grateful for the opportunity to serve Person County. And I got two of my members of our committee still here. Anybody got any questions for them? Okay.
Thank you for coming out.
I do have one more comment,
Yes, sir.
or one comment.
Yes, sir.
We're looking at 2 months. We're not looking at 6 months before we approve a certain amount
Yes, sir.
or approve zero.
I
So
understand.
it's not like we're months and months and months away.
We understand the urgency.
Okay.
We understand the urgency. We certainly do. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I did, Mr. Powell, and this is really just so that the minutes are clear, and I think what's being asked of our commissioners is clear. What I heard your motion to state is that the board would put the funding request into the annual budgeting process as the first point. The second point is you're requesting that the board direct PCBIC to take steps to make it a completely separate entity from the county.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear for everyone.
If that's, that is not, so you're saying what we're voting on now is to tell them they need to go ahead and separate?
Well, that's the motion on the floor, Mr. Sims.
That's the motion.
And so at this point, the board could approve or reject that motion. You could then have a separate motion. But that's why I wanted to make sure that board members understood what was being proposed and discussed.
Okay. Let me get that.
Okay.
The
And,
first one I'm fine with.
and that's what I was gonna say, Mr. Thomas, if the board preferred, the two motions could be broken out into separate motions. But that would need to be done after the motion that's being considered has been voted on.
Okay, first motion was the one, you want to separate the two, so
Well,
the first one needs to be,
This is at the pleasure of the board, Mr. Chairman. You've put the two items together in a single motion, which is certainly permissible. But if the board would prefer, it could be broken out. And I'll leave that to the board to make a decision on that.
Needs to be two.
It needs to be two.
okay. Then do I need to keep this one that I stated, or
What I'd suggest,
rescind
Mr.
that one and,
Well, that's what I was gonna suggest, Mr. Chairman, is you could either amend your motion to break it into two, or you could request the board to vote on it as it's been stated.
I'm going to stick to that original request there because common sense tells me, as I said, I've been on that board, these boards for years. It needs revising, period. And the only way to do that is to sit at the table and discuss these revisions and put some stipulations in there if we're going to enter into a continuous budget process with and for by PCBIC. And otherwise, you are simply putting money into a line item that is taxpayer money on a long-running term that you don't know what the future's gonna hold. So is 60,000 24, 25? How about 28, 29? You don't know. And we're putting it all sort of up in the air, so I don't see any common sense reason in not going forward with the motion as I made it. So that motion remains on the floor.
Mr. Chair, and maybe Attorney, you can help me with this one. We're missing the county commissioner here today. If we table all this, then to the next meeting where we have a full board, we could do that. Is that correct?
Yes, you could.
And I can make that, he's making a motion, but can I make a motion that we table it until we have our full board here?
Yes, you could. And it sounds like Chairman Powell's amenable to that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is essentially, he's accepted an amendment to make it a motion to table the motion that he has on the floor at this time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that would be my motion, is to table it until we have a full board here
Okay.
to discuss this.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Item number 6, Recreation Advisory Board Ordinance Amendment. Mr. John Hill. You all right, John?
All right. I want to apologize in advance if you don't make me laugh, don't make me smile, because my back will start hurting and I'll fall on the ground, and then Jason will have to pick me up.
Oh.
And I apologize if I duck out. I have to take laps for it to not hurt. All right. Recreation Advisory Board Ordinance. Shortly after last year's 2023 baseball Little League season, the Recreation Advisory Board invited the Little League, Person County Little League Board, PCLL, to a meeting for an update. And through that meeting, they actually invited the Person County Little League an invitation to become a subcommittee of the Recreation Advisory Board. And the reason that they offered this invitation to become a subcommittee is mainly because they wanted to be able to aid Person County Little League in being able to operate more sustainable, have a little more oversight when it comes to rules, regulations, so on and so forth. There will be more collaboration, but also there will be an addition of a little more financial oversight with their nonprofit status. During the August 2nd meeting last year, 2023, they gave the invitation to Person County Little League. Little League met with their board in September to discuss it, and of course they voted as a Little League board to accept the invitation to the Recreation Advisory Board to become a subcommittee. We redid the ordinance with the addition of the subcommittee in the ordinance. Our attorney has taken a look at that with multiple questions, and then staff, of course, along with the Little League Board president, offered some clarification and some answers to the attorney's questions. And then, of course, February, it's taken this long, February the 7th of this year, the Recreation Advisory Board voted to adopt the Recreation Advisory Board ordinance to accept the Little League Board as a subcommittee. And just to give you an idea of how the board works, we already have a number of subcommittees that serve under the Recreation Advisory Board. Of course, those subcommittees are your athletics committee, your Friends of the Parks Committee, your Arts Council. Person County Arts Council is a subcommittee of the Recreation Advisory Board, and of course, we do have a facilities committee. So that in a nutshell, in my personal opinion, in my professional opinion, I think that it would be a more collaborative effort between the baseball league with recreation and Little League. As a matter of fact, if you recall, in 2016, when we wrote the grant to form the partnership with Little League, and the county wrote the grant and we purchased the sportsplex, one of our initial thoughts was, let's go ahead and reform Little League, which we did. We created the nonprofit of what the nonprofits you see today, Person County Little League, transformed from Roxborough Little League. And at the time, we consulted with Little League International and our state representative, and they suggested that, you know, you could go either way. You could either have your Little League subcommittee, a nonprofit, set alone from your Recreation Advisory Board and Parks Department. So we created an MOU, a memorandum of agreement between Little League, and they decided to stay separate, with just being an advisory to the Recreation Department. I didn't suggest that. I would have preferred them to be a subcommittee, just like the Arts Council, just like the Friends of the Parks, so on and so forth. It worked for a couple years, but as you know, volunteers of boards transition out, and sometimes you have enough volunteers and sometimes you don't have enough volunteers. And sometimes organizations that are nonprofits that don't have enough volunteers don't have enough people to do the actual work. That's not the case now. The case now is we do have a wonderful Little League board. They do a great job, advisory, also their volunteer hours, so on and so forth. But what we want to do is join these efforts in a more bonded partnership that will help them to be more sustainable if we do have years where we don't have a Little League board that has members that won't volunteer as much. So that in the nutshell, I come before you this morning and with this proposal.
I have a question, John. What, so the Recreation REC Board, are you gonna be over this Little League, or are you still gonna be the ones that, I mean, ultimately, I mean, they're gonna have their board, but you're gonna still have say, I would say, as being the Recreation and Parks Director?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And do we not have, is there a county commissioner on this board?
Charlie.
Thought so,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the Parks Department does still have oversight over the entire operation. What the Little League Board does is they work with us to help govern whatever those rules for that particular season are going to be. You know, they help develop the bylaws, the rules, so on and so forth. Once they're developed and they're agreed upon, those rules are sent to Little League International for them to adopt for that particular season. And those rules can change every year depending on, depending on what the population wants, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to the brass tacks of it, yes, we have oversight over it. If there's a rule infraction, of course, the county steps in to take care of the rule infractions. The Recreation Advisory Board steps in to, say, for example, somebody gets suspended. Then it goes to the Recreation Advisory Board, so on and so forth, to determine what their disciplinary actions will be. So yes, we and the budget process, maintenance, total operating expense, so on and so forth. But by letting them be a part as a subcommittee, it does help for them to be able to put more eyes on the entire, on the entire operation. They may make a suggestion. They may see something that we don't see. So it's sort of like the Arts Council. They're the eyes and ears of our operation at the Kirby, along with PCC. So.
Well, there's certain rules that the Little League requires, certain restrictions and things of that nature. So, as far as us, the Little League, if you're a community or whatever league, you have to comply. I mean, or else the Little League is not going to recognize you. You're not going to be able to compete.
Correct.
In the Little League program. So, I think it's good, and I think it's good to have that subcommittee.
I think it's a good move. I went out to the opening day of the baseball season there, and that was a huge success and a way of showing the public there what you guys do and what we do for our children, and that's what it's all about. But I appreciate the insight looking into different entities that are separate but have one ultimate goal, focused on that and getting the job done for Parks and Rec, whatever your title is now, but I certainly approve. Any other commissioner comments?
I would like to inject that in my 3.5 years on this board, we've had a few incidents that we were able to resolve, and everybody was happy. I think may have been one individual that may have left with his head down, but the board works really well together. I could make a motion to do something, and somebody could make a subsequent motion, and we can come in and meet in the middle to find the answers that we're seeking. So it's been a tremendous pleasure for me to serve on that board.
Appreciate that.
You got it organized really well.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay, do we have a motion to amend the ordinance to include PCLL board as a subcommittee of the RAB?
Chairman Powell, I would like to make that motion. Is there a number I need to use here?
No, sir.
Okay. 'Cause
Just a motion
all
to
right, so
approve.
I make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. And item number 7, County Farm to Park Project, contract award recommendation by Mr. Hill again.
Okay, so on February the February the 6th this year, we put out a request for proposals to contractors throughout Person County and the state. We did it via social media, we did it newspaper articles, and word of mouth, a lot of social media. We received that RFP ran for a month, and it ended on March the 6th. The proposals were open on, the proposals were open on March the 8th, and we included Ray in on that, General Services Director, and of course my Assistant Director and Maintenance Supervisor. And of course, as you see down here on the bottom of the abstract, we had 6 companies that ended up purchasing the blueprints. We made them purchase the blueprints so that they, so that they would have some skin in the game. So we only had 2 bids come back for those projects, and of course Jimmy Lewis came back. Jimmy Lewis and Son Grading is a local company, and Loftus and Son Land Services is a local company. We recommended to the manager on March the 11th via letter that Jimmy Lewis and Son is recommended that they're awarded the bid based on the review of the specs, and as being the lowest bidder in this process.
How about tree removal, which is not included in these?
Correct. So as you see here on the bid, at the bottom of the abstract, you'll see where each company had to submit a proposal to do the project with removing the lumber and without removing the lumber. And of course, the difference in the winning bid was removal of the lumber was about a difference of $72,000. We had an initial plan moving forward that we would have a forestry plan put in place. So the tree removal would be part of the forestry plan that's in this packet. And basically what that's going to be is it's not just going to be the tree removal of the driveway into the park, the main entrance, but actually it's going to encompass thinning, strategic thinning and managing of the forest. Our initial quotes, when we first started getting some ballpark numbers for this, the initial number for removing the trees just from the right-of-way itself was about $70,000. That's about a mile in at 50 foot. Looking back at that, what we would do is we would actually offer the registered forester, the actual trees for the service of doing the environmental thinning and so on and so forth.
Okay, good, thank you. Questions, comments, commissioners? Anybody? Do we then have a contract, or a motion rather, to award the contract to Jimmy Lewis and Sons Grading and Septic?
Chairman Powell, I'd like to make a motion that we award the contract to Jimmy Lewis and Son Grading and Septic for the County Farm project to put the roadway in, parking lots, and what else was it?
It's the
Third part.
stormwater best practice management, BMP, and then also the site erosion control.
There we go.
Have a motion on the floor to approve as stated. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is sole source purchasing exception for phase 2. Ms. Amanda Everett.
Good morning. I am here to speak about a sole source purchasing exception for Phase 2 of the MRF project. Revolution Systems is a manufacturer of the Revolution 9 sort system, which is the new sort system that will be included in Phase 2 of the MRF equipment updates and repairs. This Revolution 9 sort is a circular sort system that can process up to 5,000 tons a year. Currently, we process between 1,200 and 1,500 tons. So this system will not only allow us to process additional material, make partnerships with hopefully when City of Roxborough starts recycling, as well as neighboring counties, but it will also provide a safer and more secure work process. Revolution Systems is the sole manufacturer of this sorting machinery. And this equipment is also used, it's 2 years old, and it boasts an initial $85,000 savings it will be completely refurbished before delivery. So I am here today to request for the board's approval for a sole source purchasing exemption under statute NCGS 143-129, which is a correction on the agenda that you received. Statute 143-129, due to this product being available from a sole source as well as a used piece of equipment. And this will allow me to go ahead and start the process to award the contract to Revolution System to complete all of the work that will be needed for Phase 2 of the MRF update.
Okay, questions? Board members?
Question, this is the initial one we talked about months ago,
Yes, sir.
purchase?
This is everything that is included in Phase 2 of the update. The new sort system, the update of our baler, we'll have a new skid steer, new forklift, floor loading in feeds now that'll be safer, more efficient for the business, everything that had already been presented to you for the merger. Yes, sir.
And this will be in the existing structure,
Yes, sir. This is in the existing structure.
so we can get this up and running pretty soon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Powell, I'd like to make a motion, we go ahead and proceed with the purchase on this sorting machine, I'm gonna call it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion
Thank you all.
Proceed. Good luck.
Thank you.
Item number 9 on the agenda is Human Services Building Purchase and Sale Contract. Manager Kathy.
We are now at the point where we have a purchase and sale contract that we have received from Brixmor to purchase the Human Services Building that is currently occupied by our DSS, Health Department staff, as well as Freedom House's Person Counseling Center and Juvenile Justice. We have been leasing that facility for almost 19 years, and the lease agreement will expire in August of 2025. So for the past year and a half, we have been working on either negotiating the lease renewal. We've been actively negotiating on purchasing the property, and we have looked at other options. As you know, we went through both an RFQ and RFP process to get proposals from developers to build a new facility. We have arrived at the conclusion that this is our most cost-effective approach. We do, within the CIP, which will be presented to you next for your approval, we have $8 million of funding for the purchase price. And we have also included $2 million to renovate the current spaces so that it will meet our current needs for both staff and the public, and will be designed to meet our future needs as well to continue to occupy that building. So with this purchase, we have negotiated with Brixmor to split the parcels. So we are only purchasing the part of the shopping center that we occupy. The rest of the shopping center will remain under Brixmor's ownership. We will also acquire the parcel that Pat's currently uses for parking. So those are the two parcels that we would be acquiring through this purchase. I did email a copy of the purchase and sale agreement to the board last week. There are confidentiality provisions in there through the due diligence period, and we are still in the process of working out the final wording with Brixmor. So what we are asking you today is to authorize the county attorney and county manager to negotiate the final language in the agreement and authorize the county manager to execute the final document. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Wasn't there an adjacent parcel of land that goes up towards EMS?
That is
Also-
part of the parcel that the shopping center or the Human Services Building currently sits on. The parcel extends up to Barden Street next to EMS. So there are power lines that run through that piece of the parcel. But yes, it does extend up that far.
I just want to make sure, because I knew that was initially on the proposal to purchase, and I didn't hear you mention it just a moment ago.
It's not a separate parcel. It's part of.
Well, I didn't hear
yeah.
you mention that portion of it.
Okay,
Of
yeah.
the property though.
Right. So it's part of the parcel.
And just on that note as well, there's a little generator pad that is on, it's the other part that is not part of the Human Services Building, that will be conveyed as part of the transaction as well. So they're in the process of essentially splitting up the property. So,
And we are on track to close. The intent would be to close by the end of August along the same timeline that we are proceeding forthwith for the Carolina Pride Car Wash building. And we will have all the necessary studies in place and the parcels split so that we can meet the LGC time frames for approval of the debt.
And that did include the separation of the water supply that we talked about.
It will include the
Yeah.
valve
Right.
cutoff and a separate meter to clearly differentiate between the two.
Manager Kathy, one of the things, was concerned about for me is that when we're looking at a contract like this and then the wording is to negotiate a final language on the agreement, and we don't see what the final agreement is, and we're just saying go ahead and proceed and execute the final document. So I don't know what language you're going to be changing, but I would certainly like to have that to read or see and see, make sure nothing that was originally you gave us doesn't change anything.
Yes.
That would be my concern, and TC, you can follow up and answer that for me.
We can certainly do that, Mr. Sims. Where we are is that the language of the contract, none of the material terms have changed in terms of what we're getting or what we're paying. But there are, some fairly minor language about like the due diligence period and things like that. We would never recommend a contract where material terms like price, what you're getting, are left up to accounting staff. But if it's the pleasure of the board, we could bring back the final contract at your next meeting instead.
How is that different than what you sent us all in the confidential matters?
Right, so I had sent you, the version that I sent to you all was the version that Brixmore provided, and then the markups on it were TC's comments back to their attorney. Are we still waiting to hear back from their attorney?
That's
on
where
their
we are, is we're
comments?
just-
Yeah, that's
we're-
where we are right now.
We're waiting for, because we got the agreement early last week, or maybe it was about a week or two ago, and we're just trying to get all these comments finalized.
So, I guess our intent would be that we would just work through the attorneys on agreement for some of those finer points of the contract. You know, if the board would like to authorize us to do that, then we could move forward with executing the agreement. That would help us, continue along the timeline that we've established. If anything substantial changed, we would definitely bring it back to the board, and I would also, send you a finalized copy once we've gotten to that point. But if you want it to come back, that is fine too. We can do that.
I don't wanna hold up the process, I
right.
understand, I know we want to move forward with it, when I read the language like this
Sure.
again, it makes me, a little concerned that when we're talking about, there still could be some changes, as long as there's no major changes that you've discussed,
right.
and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, questions? Anybody?
I need to make a motion.
Yes, sir,
I
please.
make a motion to authorize the county attorney and the county manager to negotiate the final language of the agreement and authorize the county manager to execute the final document.
Have a motion on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Item number 10 is the fiscal year 2029 capital improvement plan.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, the fiscal year 25-29 capital improvement plan, or CIP, is being presented for your approval at today's meeting. It was originally presented 2 weeks ago at the April 1st meeting. During that meeting, Chairman Powell did bring up the topic of a new operations facility for Person County Schools. Following that meeting, I did receive a written request from the superintendent, which I did share with you all. Staff worked to identify ways we could potentially incorporate that into the CIP. We did not do that. So the document that is in front of you is the same document that you saw 2 weeks ago. The reason being is we tried a few different strategies to look at fitting in the new operations building. One of those would be adding that project into the debt issuance for Person County Schools in fiscal year 26. So that limited obligation bonds issuance will fund a variety of school projects, as we've discussed over the last couple of years. Adding it to that issuance, right now, the debt model would indicate that there would need to be a 1/2 cent tax increase to go along with that in order to support the debt payments moving forward if we were to add that back in. We also considered that we could remove other projects from the CIP, but due to the significant size of this particular project, it is one that typically would be financed through debt. It would make a significant dent in pulling out other projects that have been identified as priorities in the plan. The other thing that we've considered that I would also like for you as a board to consider is that we can look at this request again next year when it comes time to put together the CIP. It is likely that our debt model will have gained additional capacity over the next year. As you know, we move anything in excess of 25% from our fund balance into our capital investment fund. So that does create the opportunity to be able to afford higher debt payments in the future. We also will be going through the reval. We anticipate that the budget process will look different next year, and that there may be more opportunity there to work this project in. So that is staff's recommendation, that we not include that particular project in this CIP, that you approve the CIP as it was originally presented. I have also discussed this with Superintendent Peterson, and he did emphasize how the school board's priority this year is their operational funding request that's been presented, that we'll be looking at in the operating budget, that they have very pressing needs when it comes to additional county funding for operations, and that would be their priority for this upcoming fiscal year. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
That's one, I know Commissioner Powell, you had mentioned this project and the need, and I certainly, I think it's important, but also don't want to raise taxes. And so I would like to, as you said, maybe look at this in 2026 and see where we're at. Hopefully there'll be some funds that we can work towards that and try to get that project going. So.
Well, all along, I think this board has done a good job of playing catch up with school needs. It's been sidelined and set aside for a few decades now, and this is another project that needs to be done, and I talked about that at the last meeting, so I won't go back over all that, but it's a dangerous building, and certainly the safety of the personnel there, and they're simply their needs. So I'm okay with this, and that's fine. But again, this was has been on the table, so to speak, kicked around since 2005 or thereabouts, and so again, I realize the priorities have already been set, and I respect and honor that, and I have no problem with going along with it, as Manager Kathy has stated here. Any other?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Mine with it, go with it.
No, don't wanna raise taxes.
Yeah.
Not at this point.
Okay. So, do we have a motion related to the request? It's at the board's discretion now to a motion to adopt CIP as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Okay, just real quick, I would like to clarify one thing. This did not come from, stand up rather than sit down. No, I continue to have, skin cancer issues and subsequent, surgeries, and, so that's where all this comes from. And, so anyway, just a joke and clarification. I did participate in a VIA board meeting, and many of the things that were discussed previously by a health director was talked about, and VIA has done a good job of working with law enforcement as well as placing a facility here for actually walk-in mental health services and issues that I'm very, very proud of. Did attend the health board's breakfast honoring their employees for the year last week, and the trails event that Mr. Hill was very active in last week at the Kirby, and that was well attended and a lot of discussion there, and appreciate your effort there. And I think I had tried to clarify the process of getting the questions about the MEC project to Dominion answered, I believe, to your husband, as directed by Dominion. That request was sent to a P.O. box, not an individual, as presented, no changes, no additions, nothing, just as you folks requested. And I do not have a timeline as to their responses. There was no return, no contact person, no one to reply to, just simply sent to them for answers. And I did inquire about that last week, and that too is in their court. Mr. Commissioner Sims.
Thank you. First of all, with the MEC or Dominion Energy, I haven't seen your report that you set over there on the desk. As I said, I'm environmental energy and safety manager, and I certainly will look at that, and if I see the concerns or see what's there, I will certainly be glad to contact Dominion Energy and talk to them about what I've read. I do know that when you remove a lot of land and when you're doing construction, you're doing grading. We had this at our plant when we built a 150,000 square foot building, and we had to move land. I do know, I did a stormwater report, and when you have all that dirt moving and there's a rain and all this, it can affect the stormwater reporting. And then after everything's cleared, it was good. But I can't say what this is until I read it, but certainly I will look into that, and I will see what I can do to get you some answers. The other thing is, this past Sunday, we had a food truck rodeo here uptown. It was very successful. The URG put this on, and beautiful weather. And again, it's good to see so many people that came out to enjoy the food trucks, enjoy the weather, and there was other vendors out here as well. And so, again, it's going to happen again. There'll be another food truck rodeo again here this year, and hopefully those who didn't go will be able to make it and come on out. And I want to say right here, I thank everyone who helped put that on, participated, getting the trucks here, and those who helped clean up at the end. Appreciate that. So that's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Palmer.
Excuse me. I'd like to announce that we do have lights, a light installed on our Charters of Freedom across the street here now. Compliments of Tommy Lawrence. I think I told you guys that was coming. So it is up and running at night now. It started Tuesday evening. I attended the dedication of a new hangar at Raleigh Regional Airport here. They've got a plaque within their office area that denotes the commissioners who were involved with this project. I attended a meeting also, and very enlightening, and I'm tempted to go back to the next meeting because there's a lot goes on out there that's very interesting. And as I told them during my I'll-call presentation, you were absent. I think you were maybe doing your surgery that day. So anyway, I do plan on going back because there's a lot going on, and I see a great potential for that airport to grow. And there's a lot going on out there. That's all I have.
Commissioner Thomas.
Well, thank everyone for coming out today. I had the opportunity to attend Fam Fest Saturday, put on by the county, and it was great. It was a windy day. Can't say the weather was perfect for that one, but it was a great turnout. And of course, I went yesterday to the food truck rodeo, and it was great to see Main Street full of people. So that's all I got.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I do my report? Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I did have something I wanted to make sure that we covered.
Thank you.
So today is the effective date for our Consolidated Human Services Agency. And Tomorrow, we have scheduled the Consolidated Human Services Board orientation. So that is a training session for the Board of Commissioners on your duties and responsibilities as the Consolidated Human Services Board. It will take place in the FEMA room over in our Human Services building, and the session will be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We will serve a light breakfast at 8:30, so that'll be an opportunity for the staff of the consolidated agency to come and meet you all, and for you all to meet them prior to the training session, which is open to the public. In addition to that, our Assistant County Manager, Brian Hart, will be appointed today as the Consolidated Human Services Director. He will be delegating the authority for the Social Services Director to our current Director, Carlton Paler. We'll administer his oath of office this morning for that capacity that he'll be serving in. And I will be sending a letter to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services along with the resolution that the board adopted to formalize this process today.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I owe you one. How about breakfast tomorrow morning?
I think that was a good order. I think it was good because I would have talked about FanFest, and now
Yeah,
Commissioner
okay.
Thomas got to do that.
And I
so.
would like to say thank you, Commissioner Palmer, for being there, and you are right. There's a lot that, and it's productive, going on at the airport, and out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people, but that brings in revenue to the county in a lot of unknown ways. Every year, it's amazing and the state report divulges that, and it doesn't come from the airport commission or with the in-house government. It is a state report. And again, that was somewhat of I'll just call it a little bit of a dream for me when I first proposed it. Then manager York was here, and she worked that out to where we could construct that hangar, and it is nice.
It's phenomenal.
State of the art, and it is leased, and we're getting revenues related to that. Is it $250,000?
It's 240, yes,
Yes.
240
Yeah.
annually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and hopefully it's a springboard into further expansion there and of things to come. And again, I appreciate you being there and taking my place. I might send you more often.
It was a pleasure. It was an accident that I ended up there. I was at the Roxborough Animal Services, and had my dog's yearly vaccination, et cetera. Spent a lot of money. So I called Henry Mule as I was leaving because I was looking for a chartered flight to Oklahoma coming up. And he said, "Where are you at? You're supposed to be out here at the airport." I said, "What do you mean I'm supposed to be out there?" He said, "You didn't get the MO?" I said, "No."
I didn't get it either. So, but,
So I was in my dress shirt, my work shirt, work pants. I ran home from, we're at Somerset, down the street here, put on decent clothes, pants and shoes, and left my work shirt on, and I was presentable. But it was really, really worth my time, and I do expect to go back.
All right, those are our comments. So at this point, we have closed session number 1, per General Statute 143, 318, 11A3. Those permitted to attend would be Manager Kathy, Clerk Solomon, Attorney Morphus, and Planning and Zoning Director, Mr. Boley. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Motion to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And, Mr. Chairman, this is just for the record, we'll be discussing Person County v. Yarborough, which is a pending lawsuit, also Mainstream Earthworks v. Person County, and also Clayton v. Person County.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're doing a lot of construction, you can put up all the barriers you want to put up, but you get a heavy rain, you're still gonna get the muddy water going into the creek. And, I mean, it happened in our plant, and we had to, you know, again, we failed the stormwater because we knew, you know, all this construction, because I have to do it every quarter.
Commissioner Sims, we have adjourned, correct?
Yes.
Okay,